Mod Soldier here, and I'm back to talk about the Orville New Horizons Season 3, Episode 8, and my thoughts on this fantastic episode. This is the best fucking episode of the Orville I think I've ever fucking seen. I'm gob fucking smacked at how good it is. I mean, are there problems? I will address the problems, and I definitely am going to call out Seth MacFarlane for the double standard shit. But fuck every bad thing I'm going to say about this, and I will say something bad. This was fucking amazing. I mean, the action scenes, the story, the ending. My God, the ending in the fucking medbay. Shit, it was just so goddamn good, and I fucking loved it, and it was something that was always going to happen. But yeah, I mean, this episode was amazing. It's shocking. I shouldn't be shocked. Like, I really shouldn't be. But you know, the constant shit of Star Trek, the constant crap of Star Wars, sci-fi for the last 5-6 years has been shit, and this show is just everything sci-fi lovers love, everything Star Trek fucking fans love, and it is just shocking that this has made it through the net. I mean, we're at episode 8 and Seth MacFarlane hasn't gone woke, and oh man, it's just so good just to watch a series and enjoy it, and for it not to slap you in the face. So I'm gonna give it out of 10. It's fucking 20 to me. I mean, it's a 10 out of 10, but you know what I mean when I say that. It's a 10 out of 10. The story's amazing. The cast's acting's fucking amazing. The whole fucking thing was amazing. And Seth MacFarlane deserves all the fucking credit in the world. All the fucking credit in the world. But, I mean, I want to watch it again. Straight after this review, I'm watching it again because it's just so fucking good. So, let's get into the spoiler section now because, well, I want to get into it. So, the episode starts off with Kelly in the mess hall, in the bar area, waiting for Bortus. And Bortus comes and drinks his species drink. I forgot what it's called. But he's kind of struggling with his daughter. She wants to go out with a boy, and you know, he's a dad, and you know, it's not exactly easy for dads to talk to the daughters about this sort of stuff, but he doesn't know what to do. She's moody, and he just wants some advice from Kelly, because Kelly's a woman, and Kelly and her, and what's her name again? Topa, get along, and Topa looks up to Kelly. So Kelly agrees. Kelly goes to see Topa. Kelly tells Topa to, you know, don't be so afraid. She's a great person, blah, 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 and go ask the boy out. Because, you know, Topa asks, you know, how do you know if a boy likes you? And whatever. Again, it's a small scene. I'm just trying to get through quick to the great stuff. So Topa goes to find the boy that she fancies to ask the boy out. So she goes to the fucking engineering, and who the hell do you think it is? It's fucking Gordon. Apparently she fancies Gordon and asks him out on a date, and Gordon, being a bit dumb, doesn't realise that's what's happening, even though everybody else in the room fucking knows what Topa's asking. Because Topa asks him out, he doesn't get it, but then he gets it, and it's like, oh yeah, that's not going to work. I thought that was a fucking amazing scene, especially when you got Lamar like saying, he'll get it, and then he does, and he says, well done, Sherlock. So it was a funny scene, but Gordon says no because he sees her as a, you know, a friend, a little sister, and there is also a massive age difference. So I love that scene. Topa just says okay, and she goes away, and then we get the credits, and then we find out that the Orville is being sent on a mission back to the female Moclus planet to do a checkup on them with the Moclans, because that was the agreement that they both came to after the incident with the female Moclus planet last season. So Kelly and Bortus are being sent to inspect the planet with the Moclans, and well, Bortus is kind of concerned because he knows that his people are not exactly happy with the situation, so he wants to go there fully armed. But Kelly tells him we can't do that because that's against the agreement with the Moclus government. But when Bortus gets ready to go, Topa turns up and asks to go with him so she can meet female Moclans, because she's never met another female Moclan. So Bortus agrees, and they head off to the female Moclan planet, which I think it's called Water Blue Planet. I think that's what it's called, I'm not sure. But they get there. Turns out the Moclans have already started their scanning, and they're supposed to wait for Union representatives so they can do it at the same time, but they decided to come early and do their inspections on their own. When Kelly and Bortus get down to the planet, the Moclans pretty much tell them, yeah, we've done our scans, we're pretty much done, we're going to head off. But when the Moclans see Topa, they're pretty much disgusted with her, and well, the leader of the Moclans pretty much calls her disgusting, so yeah, Bortus is not happy about that, but yeah, no, it's his species, so he can't really do anything about it because he's in uniform. Anyway, so Kelly and Bortus head off to do their scans, but you can kind of see they're not really scanning for much. They're not really that concerned with, is the planet keeping to the rules. They're just there to make sure the people there are safe and happy, and that the Moclans aren't, spying on them or putting anything dangerous in near the planet to destroy them. We meet back up with Havina, who is a great character. She tells them what's happened so far. They're making a lot of gains, they're building more things, and they're becoming much more confident with themselves. They're becoming a lot more less reliant on Moclus, and everything's gone okay with the planet. So Bortus is happy, Kelly's happy. They look around the place, there's more females out more than ever, and that's for a reason, by the way, which we'll find out in a bit. And yeah, the planet's doing fine. When Topa meets Havina, Topa tells her how much he respects and admires her, and Havina's very happy to see Topa because, again, she knows what she's going through, being a female, and they just have a bond with each other at the first time they meet, and you can clearly see that. So they have a party with each other. They go to a party, and they eat food and drink and all that stuff. And Havina tells them stories about, different cultures and books that she's read, books she's written. So you had that entire great scene. But then we get a scene between Topa and Havina, because Topa goes to look at some fireflies, and Havina tells her about the different colours of them and how a blue one is very special because it's very rare. But unfortunately, Havina has a different reason for wanting to talk to Topa, which is she wants Topa to help with their new smuggling arrangement or their new transport link, because they don't have communications, and the communications is one of the most important parts of a underground railroad, let's just call it that, which, because Havina has been still getting female children off of Moclus against the rules of the agreement between the Union and Moclus. So she's broken the rules. Now, this is one thing I will call out Seth MacFarlane for, is she never actually, I'll hold back on that, but it is something I will get really annoyed at Seth MacFarlane for not doing. Anyway, so she asks Topa to give her that help. She gives her the codes and the person on Moclus who is their go-between, or the person who's betrayed the government. And Topa agrees. She knows all this information, and Havina leaves Topa to play with the fireflies. She goes back to the table to talk to Bortus and Kelly again, and Topa then chases down this blue firefly thing. When she does, she then gets captured by a male Moclan who drags her to the one of their shuttles, and the shuttle then flies away to a secret base. Kelly and Bortus then realise Topa's missing. They go out to try to find her, and well, they can't find her. And unfortunately, you know, Bortus is very worried, but he knows it's probably the Moclans that have taken her. They head to their shuttle, but when they get there, they see the shuttle has been sabotaged by the Moclans, but Kelly manages to fix it, but unfortunately, the ship can't function normally. They have to then hyper drive through a forest to get altitude, but they manage to do that, and then they go after the shuttle that's carrying Topa. Back on the Orville, they pretty much have not received any contact with Kelly or Bortus, so Ed's getting kind of worried, so he orders the Orville into the, through the barrier to the planet, and, the crew have to remind him doing that is against the rules or the agreement between the Moclans. But Ed doesn't care because he's worried about Kelly and Bortus, so they go off anyway. When they get to the planet, Ed calls Havina to the ship, where Havina tells him what's happened. You know, the Moclans have kidnapped Topa, but what we find out is, but when Ed tells the Admiralty, the Union admirals about this, the Admiral pretty much tells Ed, she has to admit to her crimes so that they can have reasonable grounds to investigate the Moclans. And Havina doesn't want to do that because the network she's recreated is too important. And you can see in this scene, Ed is not happy with her for doing this, and he does get angry with her and pretty much sees that she's going to let Topa die for no reason. Actually for a reason, because she put Topa in danger by giving her all this information that she shouldn't have. Because Havina tells Ed what the plan was, which was to get Topa to take over the Orville's communication system so they could use that system to connect the network with each other. And Ed's like, you're putting her in danger. Like, of course the Moclans were going to kidnap her. You've given her all this important information that they're going to want. And we then have this fucking fantastic scene where Ed tells Havina, or somebody tells Havina, to head to the holodeck. Well, I don't know what they call it, but it's a holodeck. And when she gets there, it turns out it's an old 21st century cabin. And I think everybody, like me, realised who was in this cabin. It's Dolly fucking Parton. And it was just like, of course you're going to get Dolly Parton. And it was just amazing to see her. She's hot as fuck, by the way. Fucking hell. And when you see Havina see her, she's like, it's like meeting one of your heroes or a god. And, the female Moclans idolise Dolly Parton because of that song that they heard her sing. And, but Havina sees that it's not really the Dolly Parton, it's a computer generated version of her, but it's still Dolly Parton in a sense. And Dolly Parton tells her a story about, growing up poor, and the fact that her mum had to sew up her feet because they were cut by glass or something, and they couldn't get to a doctor. So what they had to do, so she mum sewed up her feet whilst her brother and dad held her down and let her mum re-sew on her toes. Anyway, so she tries to give her this story that tells her basically when you have to do something, do it at the right time, not at the wrong time. And she needs to help Topa now, because this is the right time to help Topa. And then we get a great song from Dolly Parton, who sings to Avina, who loves every minute of it, by the way. And this song, so she goes to Ed, tells him that she will own up to what she's done, and Ed tells the Orville to head to Earth, where they'll meet with the council to talk to, for her to admit her crimes. So we then go to Topa, who's on the shuttle with the Moclus, and she keeps asking the Moclus to release her and to give her back to her father, but the Moclus pretty much tell her to shut up or they'll cut her tongue out. And then they get to a secret base, well, a black site from the Moclus military, where she is then taken to an interrogation room, and we meet this Moclus who's lost his eye, where he has to pretend, well, what he's doing is pretty much the good guy, bad guy routine, which is he asks Topa a lot of questions. He'll go simple questions first, and then he'll get to the hard ones later. And, well, he offers her some water. He asks, is she okay? Is she worried? But then he asks about the name of the contact, the person who's betrayed Moclus, and Topa just doesn't want to answer. So he begins to hit her, and this is pretty much, she's getting tortured really badly. And I thought, damn, they really went there. And yeah, I thought it was a very interesting scene to watch, especially seeing that the Moclus are a part of the Union and they're doing this kind of stuff. Kind of seems a little bad. Well, it's a lot bad. Anyway, sorry. So the Orville gets to Earth. When they go to the Union Council, Havina admits to her crimes, and the Moclus delegation pretty much say, why are you taking this like so lightly? She has admitted to her crimes, and it's pretty much in this scene, you pretty much see that the Moclus are a part of the Union, but the Union do kind of take liberties with them. And then the Moclus remind them that they're the main weapon source, and, you know, she's a criminal. And it's like, you kind of got to understand it from their point of view. And I get it. A lot of people are going to go on at me and say, you can't really understand it from their point of view. But I'm not saying what they do is right. Again, I'm against the whole one gender bullshit. I mean, but they do seem to be on the wrong side of every argument. I mean, in the Union's eyes. And the Union does kind of tend to push its beliefs onto Moclus. And I keep getting reminded of the scene between, you know, Ed and the female versions of the Moclus. You know, the female race. And again, this is where I'm going to call out Seth MacFarlane. It's like, you were never this harsh to the females. You were literally bending over backwards to accommodate them, even though they're the same as the Moclus. And every problem you've had with the Moclus, you're just going to have the same arguments with the female race. So it is a double standard. Again, I get someone's going to say they're not a part of the Union, but still, if you watch the episode, you do see Ed bending over backwards to accommodate them and never really challenging them on their beliefs. But with the Moclus, he always challenges. He even, in this episode, says, why do we keep putting up with their bullshit? Well, why did you put up with the female people's bullshit? So, again, I will call out Seth MacFarlane for this bit. But it was still a great episode anyway. Anyway, so Bortus and Kelly get to the planet. They realise that it's a secret base for Moclus. They hike. They land on the planet using stealth. They get down to the planet's surface and they hike towards the base. When they get to a crossing, well, between two cliffs, Bortus jumps over safely, and Kelly unfortunately doesn't. She falls down the cliffside and breaks her arm. Bortus gets down there to help her, and when Bortus attaches a medical tricorder thing, you know what I mean when I say tricorder thing, it fixes up Kelly. But we get this moment between Bortus and Kelly where it turns out there might be something going on between them two. Now, Bortus, I'm kind of surprised about, but I was surprised when Kelly, because there's a scene between Bortus and Kelly where Kelly slightly moves in for a kiss, and it gets interrupted by the fact the tricorder fixes Kelly's arm. But there might be something between Kelly and Bortus, which is really, well, it's not confusing, but I mean, the ending of this episode was so good, but this could ruin it, especially with who turns up in the end. But anyway, Kelly gets fixed, they head into the base, they break through security, and they they look for Topa. Back on Earth, the Moclans have a meeting with the admirals and the president of the Union, where they pretty much go off on the Union leadership, and they bring up good points. The fact the Union doesn't really respect their beliefs, the fact the Union continues to abate them and pressure them, and they don't feel welcome in the Union. And they then remind them again about the weapons and how the Moclans are their one source of armament. But then we get this amazing scene, and I'm call it amazing because Gordon is also in the room, and Gordon pretty much tells it like it is, and he says to the Moclans, listen, we bent over backwards for you, we have put up with all your shit, we give you everything you ask for, and you still claim to be the fucking victim. And I just felt like, where do we see this every fucking day? Every fucking day. Because it was just such a good scene. And I know some people are going to get pissed at me for saying this, but it reminds me so much of SJWs, who continuously call themselves the fucking victim, but yet control everything. They control Star Wars, Star Trek, Disney, the whole Marvel universe. They control all of this shit. They have every fucking corporation at their feet, and they fucking still say that they're fucking the abused people. They still say that they're the underclass and not listened to. And it's like, are you bullshitting me? Every company fucking does your bidding. If someone ever talks against you fuckers, every corporation will go after that one person, and you still fucking call yourself the victim? Fuck you. And I know some people are going to say, well, it probably means something else, but listen, that scene just so reminds me of SJWs and how we have capitulated to them every fucking time. Every fucking time. And they're never happy. So, that was a great scene to watch. And again, seeing Gordon call it out and Ed just like, shut the fuck up, basically. It's like, yeah, it was a good scene. But then Moclus pretty much says they are going to talk to the council themselves and demand the council allow the Moclans to, defend themselves. Anyway, back with Kelly and Bortus, they get into the base, they take out the security of the base, and they get to Topa. And when they get there, the Moclans were going to kill Topa to cover their tracks. And Bortus gets he gets really angry, and then he grabs the interrogator and just kicks the living shit out of him. He then uses the weapon that the torturer was using on his daughter and just whacks him in the eye with it, and I thought that was just a great scene. I mean, also seeing the passion in Bortus's eyes and how he's so fucking angry at his people for what they've done to his daughter. It was just an epic scene. And they managed to get Topa out of the base, and they then head to the shuttle. They get on the shuttle and then get chased by the Moclans ships, fighters, sorry, and you get this great chase scene between a Union shuttle and Moclan fighters, which you've never seen before. And Bortus and Kelly manage to destroy all the fighters, and then they get back and they head to Earth to, get Topa to safety and medical help, but also for another scene. Back on Earth, the Moclans talk to the council, pretty much tell them that they need an apology from them, and that they need to be respected, and if they don't, they'll leave the Union, and the Union will lose its weapons supplier. And in the middle of this scene, Bortus walks in with Kelly and his daughter, and you get this emotional scene where Bortus pretty much calls out his race and says his race needs to be punished for what they did to his daughter. After, well, a few seconds, the entire council stands up to the the Moclus representative, and it's decided that the Moclus are going to be kicked out of the Union. And the Admiral tells Ed and Kelly this, and Bortus turns to Havina, because Havina put his daughter in danger, and, well, he just hates her now. And I think that's right. I would have liked to have seen Havina at least get a little bit of a slap on the wrist. I mean, at least a slap. I mean, her people get recognised by the Union, and they're now a protectorate of the Union, so the Moclus can't touch them yet. And, well, Bortus feels betrayed by her, so it was at least good to see that Havina had that happen to her, but I kind of think she has put the Union in a very weak state, because the Admiral tells, Ed and Kelly in the group that without the Moclus, they have no weapon supplier now, and the fact the deal with the Krill fell apart, they're in so much danger now. And the fact the Moclus now have to remove their citizens from their ships, and have to now stop having, fleets united. So again, losing Moclus is a very dangerous time now for the Union, especially with all the problems that they've had. And the Kaylon are not a weak enemy, so this is dangerous. And I do want to see Seth MacFarlane show this. The fact the Union is now at its weakest it's ever been, and they have no allies now. I doubt the Moclus are going to run to the Union's help after this. So there is going to be a lot of troubling times ahead for the Union, I think. But we all knew this was going to happen one day with the Moclus. They were always going to be kicked out. So I think it was great scenes, and I think it was obviously going to happen. Hopefully we'll see what happens to Moclus in next season, or maybe we'll find out at the end of this season, has a revolution happened? Who knows? But anyway, we then go to the med bay where Finn is checking on Topa's injuries, and Topa is pretty, I think she has PTSD now from the experience, and Dr. Finn tells Bortus that she's going to need a lot of help. She's going to need psychiatric help for probably the rest of her life because of this. And then somebody walks in the door, and it was I mean, as soon as Teller told Bortus somebody's arrived to talk to Topa, we all knew it was Clyden. And it was Clyden who's come back. He's heard about his daughter being attacked, and we just get this really, really emotional scene between Topa and Clyden, asking for forgiveness and telling his daughter that he accepts him, and it was just such an emotional scene. It's the best fucking scene of the episode. I was so worried that it was going to turn out to be something else, like he was going to turn around and stab his daughter, or he's going to kill her or something. I mean, I was so worried about that, but the scene played out fucking amazingly. It was one of the most hardest scenes I've ever had to watch, because it was so emotional. And I know it's going to make me sound like a bitch, but a tear did come to my eye in that scene. I mean, it was just so fucking emotional, man. And oh god, it was again the best scene I've ever seen in the Orville, and yeah, oh man, it was just so good. And then we go to the next scene, which is Topa, Clyden and Bortus having a meal together, and you can see that, you know, Clyden has accepted his daughter, and then Kelly walks in, and having Clyden offer her a chance to sit down and to sit at the table with them and have dinner with them, it was just such an amazing scene to watch. And yeah, the scene ends, and I'm sorry I'm kind of in two minds. It's just there's a lot of noise coming from somewhere, and it's kind of annoying me. So sorry about the noise if you do hear it. But yeah, then the episode ends. The Union have kicked out the Moclans out of the Union, and Clyden, Bortus, and Topa have renounced their citizenship and are going to stay on the Orville. And that's how the episode ends. And it was a fucking amazing episode. 10 out of 10. I think this was for me where I think the Orville has, again, it's outstanding, this episode. It's just outstanding. The emotions, I mean, it was always going to happen. The Moclans were always going to get kicked out of the Union, or they were going to leave it. But this episode was just amazing to watch. And wow, I mean, Seth MacFarlane, he knows what he's doing. I'm so happy the Orville exists, and I hope to God it gets another season. And that's the end of my review. If you like this review, give it a like. If you dislike this review, give it a dislike. And if you like my content, do think about subscribing. And take my old soldier. Bye.